You know how people say twins are basically the same person? Yeah, that's not true at all. Let me tell you about two sisters, Yumire and Yumiji. They were born on the exact same day, at the exact same time, in a tiny hospital room filled with pink baby blankets and cold fluorescent lights. And if you looked at them side by side, you'd swear they were copy-paste. Same face, same eyes, same everything. Even their mom got confused sometimes. But inside, they couldn't be more different. Mireille was the quiet one. The kind of girl who sat by the window with a book in her lap, headphones in, and a million thoughts swirling in her head. She liked calm things, studying, reading, routines. Miji, she was loud, funny. The kind of kid who raced boys during recess and actually won. She didn't care about grades, but give her a track to run on and she'd light it on fire. She lived for movement, for challenge, for cheering crowds. And the two of them had a secret. See, when one of them hit a wall, like Miji facing a test or Mireille stuck with gym class, they'd switch places. No one knew, not the teachers, not their friends, not even their mom. It worked until it didn't. One day at school, they were caught during a blood test. The nurse realized something was off. After that, their mom gave Mireille a short haircut so everyone could tell them apart. That simple cut. It was the beginning of everything changing, because from that moment, their paths split. Mireille went on to do everything right. She got into a top university in Seoul, wore neat office clothes, worked in a giant company downtown. It looked perfect from the outside. Miji, she stayed behind. She became a star athlete for a while, but then she fell during a big race and hurt herself. Bad, it ended everything. The medals stopped, the cheering stopped. And she moved back home, no plan, no spotlight. She got a job as a school janitor, then another job stacking vegetables, then another. She worked hard, but it was all quiet, thankless stuff. No one clapped anymore, and her mom. Always proud of Mireille who paid the bills, Mireille who climbed the ladder, Mireille, the good daughter. Miji just kept getting compared. Why can't you be more like your sister? Her mom would say over and over. One evening, her mom asked her to bring pancakes to a neighbor. Their son, Lee Hosu, was back in town. He was the same age as the twins and the kind of boy all the moms liked to gossip about: lawyer, good job, quiet. Miji didn't want to go, but she did. And just as she opened the door to leave, she bumped into him. He looked the same, taller, sharper, but still that cool distance in his eyes. And he was wearing this ridiculous pink tie. She stared. You picked this, didn't you? He asked. Turns out his mom had asked Mireille to choose a tie for his blind date. Mireille, being Mireille, had picked the most obnoxious color in the store. Miji almost laughed, almost. Because even now, even after all these years, he was still asking about Mireille, not her. And just like that, the old hurt came rushing back. See, when they were kids, Miji had tried. She tried so hard to be friends with him. To talk to him, to be seen. But it was always Mireille he looked at, always her. People even made up stories saying Hosu and Mireille were dating, that they were the golden couple. Perfect grades, perfect silence, Miji. She was just there. Later that night, after a fight with her mom, Miji lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. Everything was always about Mireille. Even now, Hosu only asked about her, not once about Miji. Meanwhile, Grandma, who Miji had taken care of for years, was getting worse. Miji called her sister, told her Grandma wasn't doing well. Mireille didn't listen. She thought Miji was asking for money again. I don't have time for this, she snapped. You chose this life. Click, the line went dead. A few days later, their mom handed Miji a box of food. Take this to your sister, she said. Go to Seoul. Miji didn't want to. She yelled, refused, stormed out of the house, but something tugged at her. And the next morning, she was on a bus to Seoul, the food box on her lap. When she arrived, she saw Mireille in her office, pale, shaking, exhausted. They sat down in a cafe, and Mireille finally spoke. I think about jumping off the roof just to rest. Miji froze. She had never seen her sister like this. She tried to talk her into taking a break, just a few days off. But when she went to the bathroom, Mireille vanished. Left the food, left the cafe, left everything. Panic set in. Miji raced to Mireille's apartment, and there she was standing on the third-floor balcony. Miji didn't hesitate, she ran. Grabbed her sister, they both tumbled off. Landed on a blanket someone had left down below. No one was hurt, at least not on the outside. They sat on the pavement, holding each other, crying, finally breaking. Mireille opened up. She had tried to do the right thing at work, stand up for someone being bullied, but when she spoke out, the bullies came for her too. The whole office turned cold. She felt like she couldn't breathe, couldn't escape, couldn't even quit. At the bus station later, Mireille tried to leave again, but Miji grabbed her arm. You don't have to fight this alone, she said. Let me take your place just for a while. And Mireille for once let go. They switched lives. So just like that, the sisters swapped lives. Miji packed up her things, left their tiny town, and stepped into her sister's world in Seoul. She had a small notebook with her. One Mireille had scribbled full of instructions. Things like, don't talk too much, don't laugh loudly in meetings, never sit in the front row. Miji read it, but she didn't care. She was gonna do things her way. On her first day at the company, she walked into a big, shiny office building wearing Mireille's clothes. She sat in the wrong seat at the conference table. She drank coffee that wasn't hers. When a manager asked her to comment on the day's report, she pulled out the notebook and read straight from it, word for word. People stared, whispered, some laughed. But Miji just smiled and went back to folding paper cranes at her desk. She organized files into heart shapes on the computer. She counted down the minutes until lunch. She thought this job was easy. Meanwhile, Mireille was waking up at dawn in the village. She rode her sister's old bicycle to the strawberry farm. Her legs ached, her back hurt, and she had no clue what she was supposed to be doing. The farm owner, Han Sejin, didn't give her tasks. He just watched. Sometimes he chopped wood. Sometimes he fished by the river. He didn't say much, so Mireille cleaned. She swept out an old shed, threw away a broken chair. Later, Sejin found out and got upset. That chair, he said, was from his grandfather. It wasn't just junk. Mireille apologized. She didn't mean to mess up. She was trying. Back in Seoul, Miji was given a new task. She had to convince a restaurant owner, an older woman, to sell her land. The company wanted to build something there. Easy, Miji thought, except when she showed up, the woman threw salt at her and kicked her out. Every day, Miji tried again. Every day she failed. She couldn't charm her. She couldn't bribe her. She couldn't even get her to sit down and listen. It was starting to wear on her. At the same time, she kept bumping into Lee Ho-soo. Still thinking she was Mireille, he tried to make small talk. Miji didn't correct him. She liked being noticed, even if it was for the wrong reasons. One night, she took him to the Han River. They ate cup noodles under the night sky. You're different lately, he said. She just smiled. Back in the village, Mireille was starting to settle in. She wasn't good at the farm work, but she was showing up. Every day, one evening, she made strawberry jam. She put it in a little glass jar and stuck a label on it with her real name, Yu Mireille. It was the first time in years she'd done something just for herself. Sejin watched her from the doorway. He didn't ask questions. But she could tell he knew something was off. She wasn't Miji. Not really. But he let her be. Meanwhile, Miji was still struggling with the land sale, until one day the old woman suddenly agreed to talk. Turns out Ho-soo had visited her. He told her thank you for a scholarship she had given when he was a student. She hadn't even known he was one of the kids she helped. That little moment of kindness opened her heart. That night, Miji brought chicken gizzards to Ho-soo's place as a thank you. They sat on his tiny sofa, eating and talking. Then he asked her, do you regret taking back the whistleblower complaint? Miji paused. That wasn't me, she said quietly. That was my sister. Silence. Ho-soo stared at her. She looked back and then she told him everything. Miji told him about the switch, about Mireille burning out at her job, about the almost jump from the balcony, about the silent promise to take on her sister's pain. Ho-soo didn't say anything for a while. Then he asked, why are you telling me this now? Miji looked down. Because I think you always saw her, but no one ever really saw me. Ho-soo didn't look away. He said, I did. That night, everything between them changed. They started spending more time together, walking through parks, sharing street food. Miji told him about her high school races, how she used to win, how she lost it all from one bad fall, how she hid in her room for years after that, feeling like a failure. Ho-soo told her about his accident too, how he walks with a limp now, how people look at him like he's fragile when all he wants is to be seen as strong. They started to see each other for who they really were. But pretending to be Mireille wasn't getting easier. Miji's team at work started expecting more. Deadlines, reports, pressure. She began to feel what her sister had felt. Over in the village, Mireille was slowly finding peace. She learned to make jam properly. She started talking to Sejin more. One day he asked her, you're not Miji, are you? She froze. He said, I figured, but I like you anyway. Mireille smiled. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she had to pretend. Back in Seoul, Miji was asked to go to a school reunion. Everyone thought she was Mireille. They bragged about jobs, marriages, vacations. Someone brought up Miji, the real Miji, saying she had ruined her life. Washed up, cleaning floors. Miji clenched her fists under the table. She smiled through it all, but when it was over, she walked out and cried in the rain. Ho-soo found her. He held her hand. He said, you don't have to keep pretending. And for once, she didn't. After that night, things started to shift. Miji stopped trying so hard to fit the role of her sister. She didn't care if people thought she was weird. She just wanted to be real, but being real came with its own troubles. At work, her manager scolded her. She wasn't meeting deadlines. The team was losing patience. And then came the big ask. The company wanted her to bring the old restaurant owner to headquarters for a final land sale meeting. Miji panicked. She didn't know how to convince the woman. So she went back to the restaurant carrying a homemade lunch and a thank you letter. The old woman didn't soften. She told Miji not to come again. Miji walked home alone, holding the untouched lunchbox in her hands. That night she called her sister. "I don't think I'm cut out for your world," she whispered. "I thought the same thing about yours," Mireille replied. They both stayed silent for a moment. Then Mireille said, "But we're still trying. That has to count for something." Meanwhile, in the village, Mireille had her own small victory. Sejin handed her a pair of rubber boots, brand new. She looked down at them, then up at him. He said, "So you stop ruining your shoes." But it meant more than that. It meant he noticed her, cared for her. That afternoon, they sat on a straw mat in the sun, eating roasted sweet potatoes. He told her about his grandfather, the farm, the tools, the memories, and how he never really cared about any of it. Until now. Mireille listened quietly, her heart slowly warming. She never thought she'd feel safe in a place like this. But somehow, Sejin made her feel like she belonged. Back in Seoul, Miji got a surprise call. The restaurant owner had agreed to come to the company. Miji rushed over, but something felt off. The old woman wasn't herself. She seemed tired, off balance, then suddenly she collapsed. Miji froze, her heart pounded. Her breath got tight. Just then Hosu arrived. He helped steady her, then called an ambulance. While waiting, Miji sat on the sidewalk, hands trembling. "I thought I lost her," she whispered. Hosu sat beside her. "You didn't." But it brought back memories Miji had buried for years. The day her grandmother had a stroke. The day she panicked, ran to every neighbor, screamed for help. The day she realized she couldn't save the people she loved. Tears streamed down her face. "I wasn't strong enough then," she said. "I'm still not." Hosu gently took her hand. "You are, you just don't see it yet." And in that moment, something in her shifted. They sat together on the hospital bench until morning. Miji kept holding the old woman's hand. When her sister heard what happened, she came rushing back from the village. The sisters stood in the hallway, facing each other. Mireille looked exhausted, but she also looked proud. "You did good," she said. Miji smiled, her eyes red. "You did better." They didn't need to say anything else. The switch had started as a plan to survive, but it became something more. Miji learned her own strength. Mireille found a life outside the city, and Hosu, he stayed. He stayed with Miji not because she was pretending, but because she finally stopped. Back at the farm, Sejin planted new strawberries. Mireille helped him water them. "It's strange," he said. "I thought this land was done growing anything good." Mireille looked around. Maybe it just needed time. And in Seoul, Miji walked into the office not as her sister, but as herself. She had a new job, smaller desk, lower pay. But her own name on the door, she sat down, smiled. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. The story of the twins was no longer unwritten. They had written it together, and now it belonged to them.